Welcome everyone to episode 17 of the Looks Like a Movie podcast. My name is Kevin. I'm here with Doug and Owen. Today we're going to be talking about two new movies, Beau is Afraid and Evil Dead Rise. We're also going to cover some news at the end of the episode. As always, share the episode, like, comment, and subscribe if you're on YouTube. Follow us on Twitter. The link is in the description. And before we get into the movies, let's talk about what we watched this past week. Who wants to go first?
What day is it? What's this last week? Hold on.
Okay, I'll go first. I actually watched a lot this week. I did watch the rest of the Evil Dead franchise, but I won't get into that because we're going to talk about the movie. So outside of that, I started my Kelly Reichardt binge. I watched Night Moves because it's similar to How to Blow Up a Pipeline, and that was pretty good. Not as good as How to Blow Up a Pipeline, but still pretty good. And then I watched Old Joy, which was really good. So I'm going to keep watching some Kelly Reichardt stuff. And I'd recommend. She's really cool. And then the only other thing I would really recommend that I saw is Chevalier in theaters because nobody was in my theater. And it's actually a pretty...
Nobody was in your theater?
There's like two people, but and it wasn't even I don't know.
Like was it a normal time or?
Yeah, it was like a Saturday afternoon. Like the mall was packed. Gotcha. There was a ton of people in the movie theater, and there's just nobody in my theater. Yeah, I don't know. It's I didn't know what to expect from it because I had just seen the trailer for literally, not even kidding, maybe 4 months. Apparently, this trailer is not playing anywhere else.
I don't remember seeing it.
No,
in my theater, it plays all the time.
A long time, but it's like this is like one of those movies that was supposed to come out like 6 months ago.
Yeah, and it just kept getting pushed back. But but now it did come out this weekend, and turns out it's pretty good. I was like, the only thing I will say about the movie is that after I saw the trailer so many times and like the way that they make the trailer look, I thought it was going to be like a 3-hour movie, and it ends up only being like a 1 hour and 40-minute movie. And that's like the worst thing about it. Like this movie would maybe be like my favorite movie of the year if it was 3 hours long and just like went into everything in detail. But it just kind of glosses over like so many sections of this guy's life because it's just trying to fit it all into like this really short movie. So, but yeah, I'd still recommend it. And yeah, that's what I watched this week.
Yeah. I watched Opera. Have you guys seen Opera? I know you haven't. A rhetorical question.
Nah, but I saw that you watched it though.
Is that the Argento movie?
Watch list.
It's the Dario Argento Italian film, but it's in English.
Gotcha.
It's like my first, one of my first. I haven't seen a lot of him. It's like, other than like Suspiria, basically my first Argento, and it's like really violent. It's like really fucked up.
Yeah, that's his stuff. It gets like that.
The poster looks very creepy to me. Like when I saw that you watched it, I clicked on it and I was like, oh, maybe I'll watch this, or maybe I won't because I was freaked out.
The vibe is kind of crazy. It's good though. I watched like an early 2023 release. It was like a festival run last year. That Sick movie.
Yeah.
Written by Kevin Williams and directed by John Hames. That movie's really good.
Yeah, I saw a lot of mixed reviews about it, but I'm happy you liked it because I want to watch it still.
Yeah, you guys should. I think you guys will both like it. So yeah.
Yeah, I put that one off because I think it was like didn't it get released on one of like the, I don't know what streaming service it was.
Peacock. I think.
Yeah, Peacock. And I just like don't use Peacock, so I just like never watched it. But I guess I could just find it online at this point and watch it. So
yeah,
I should probably circle back to that.
Yeah, I'm gonna check it out soon. Is that all for you, Doug?
Yeah. I mean, we're gonna talk about everything else.
Yeah, well, it's like a lot of movies. I watched a lot of movies this week, but a lot of them are kind of for the episode. I did watch Hereditary and Midsummer to kind of prepare for.
We love those movies. Certified looks like a movie classic.
Everybody on the podcast loves those.
Yeah, I watched those to prepare for Beau is Afraid. I watched Twilight New Moon and In the Mood for Love. And then yesterday I watched Gentleman Jim, which is probably like my favorite movie that I've watched in a little bit, which is like this 40s movie.
The silly boxing movie.
I saw you had a really positive review.
For that, who's played by Errol Flynn. And it's really funny, and it's just like it's like this silly like this Errol Flynn, he's like very charismatic. He's Robin Hood, and he's just like this old. It's like old boxing, so they're wearing like their underwear, and it's just a silly little boxing movie. And it's like there's not really like much consequences. There's really just him like kind of just rising up the ranks and then like kind of walking off in the sunset. But it's just like this very happy, funny old boxing movie that I really enjoyed.
I like a movie with not too much conflict sometimes.
Yeah, well, it was funny because it's based off James Corbett's book about like his life, and I was reading into it, and the book is kind of like the rise and the fall of James Corbett. And in the movie, it's just like the rise of James Corbett. Like it's kind of just like him just being the best guy around. It's just a lot of fun. It very much has this like old Hollywood vibe. Jim Corbett got into acting as well, so there's a lot of that. And it kind of reminds me of like Singing in the Rain and like King Kong in the way of like it's just this old movie where there's like they're acting and they're part of it. I really like the kind of inclusion of like old acting in old movies. But yeah, big fan of Gentleman Jim, 1942.
Yeah, no, it sounds good. I gotta put it on the watch list. All right, if that's all we watched, we could get into some movies. I think we're gonna start with Beau's Afraid, I think.
Oh, what the fuck?
Yeah, no, because we'll save Evil Dead for last because we're gonna, we'll talk about a little bit about the franchise as a whole. So let's start with Beau's Afraid. I guess as always, spoiler warning. There's some pretty like shocking stuff in this movie that you
should we just try not to spoil this movie?
We could do that. That's possible.
I think we could.
Yeah, because there's some shocking moments in this movie that if you hear about them before,
I think
like,
we could be
going into
vague. Because I think I think that it's like we should just like think about for spoilers. We're not going to bring up let's try not to bring up anything that happens in the plot of the movie, like after the halfway point, basically.
Yeah, there's one of those things that was one of my favorite parts of the movie, but we'll dance around.
Well, we know what you're talking about.
Yeah, we know what you're talking
about. So we don't have to talk about that, but yeah, we'll dance around all the spoilers. I guess we could start with our ratings. I gave it a 3.5. Doug.
I gave it 4.5 stars.
Nice.
You staying on that, or you moving? You think you're moving up?
I'll watch it again. And I'll think about it.
Yeah, I think I need to watch it again before I could cement my rating because there's some stuff that I'm still like on the fence about, like thinking about. I think there's a more likely chance that my rating goes up than down. But
yeah, that's a good fucking movie.
Yeah, I won't be rewatching anytime soon.
Okay, hit us with the Owen rating.
Yeah, no, I gave it a 1.5. 1.5 out of 5.
What did you and Midsummer and Hereditary were both 1 stars or 1.5?
I think Hereditary is my favorite Ari Aster just by like a hair.
Me too. Also just by
Midsummer as a 1 star.
And then it's fine. Just anyway, let's talk about stuff that we liked about the movie first. Owen could take a back seat for this one. Where do you want to start, Doug? Because you like this movie the most.
Yeah, I think that immediately you're hit with kind of like this God, it's
it's really hard to answer around.
The way that like Aster kind of describes it is Picker-esque, which I guess is pretty accurate, kind of like Lars von Trier or something. But it's like you're met with like this world that he has created, like Beau's, like the world of Beau's Afraid is what he calls it. Like you're met with the world of Beau's Afraid, which is basically like the world is trying to fucking like it's like a nightmare, it's like they're trying to just like kill him. And I was honestly immediately I was thinking about like, oh, this is kind of like a more literalized version of something I really appreciate in that After Earth by M. Night, where After Earth kind of like the world of After Earth is kind of like this heightened reality that is like kind of like plays into like this allegory for anxiety, whereas Beau's
Yeah.
Afraid is like the same thing but even like more extreme and also
Yeah.
very very funny. Um, and I thought that was really cool and engaging. And God, the movie's so fucking funny. Literally, I think that every single, like, I think that there's like a joke almost every second for the first half hour, and I think every joke fucking hits. I think
Yeah, I was
it's
laughing that first. I think if we're looking at the movie in sections without spoiling it, because obviously this is like this lengthy like adventure movie, like you could kind of break it down to like the parts where the movie takes place. I think that first part of Beau at his apartment and like the surrounding area of his apartment is probably my favorite section, just because of like some of the stuff you mentioned about this whole like personifying like his anxiety into just like this like mess of things. I think is really fun. There's a couple scenes that are like that remind me a lot of my own anxiety, obviously not to the extreme degree that the movie presents them, but it does kind of like it does kind of, if you are somebody with anxiety, and especially somebody who's like gets very anxious in public spaces, there's definitely some stuff that happens in that like beginning section of the movie that is very relatable, and in like a really funny way. Like it's nice to get a laugh out of it, I think. As somebody who's like dealt with those fears, it's nice to like see it put on screen and be like, oh, that's actually really silly. So yeah, I would say that's probably my favorite little section of the movie.
and that's so this like that like this that first section of the movie is that's kind of like the nucleus of Beau's Afraid, like the idea as it spawns in Astor's mind too, because the Beau short film is kind of like a more condensed uh like part of that section, where because
Mhm.
the Beau short film is basically just about like a guy that is going on a trip that he's really anxious about, and
Yeah.
he and then somebody steals the key out of his store, which is something that just happens in this movie, but it also it's happens very early on in this movie, and it's sandwiched with some other stuff.
Yeah.
uh
Which is like then when you talk about the key in the door thing, I could like get into specifics. There's like specific scenes in there, and this isn't like a huge spoiler, so I think I could get away with saying this, but like there's like specific scenes in there that are literally like things that I do regularly because of my anxiety. Like when he's leaving his apartment and he like brings his bags outside and then he just like runs back inside to get more stuff. Like every time I leave my house, I get all my stuff, like I get prepared, and then I walk outside to my car, and then I put my keys in my car, and I'm like, oh wait, I gotta go back inside. Like, even if I know there's nothing else in my house, I'm like, let me just go double check to make sure there's like nothing else in there.
yeah,
Um,
like the whole movie is about Beau doing kind of like normal things that
yeah,
somebody that is like kind of anxious, or like like somebody like Beau would do, like just like normal, like kind of like, yeah, just normal things that somebody like him would do, and just getting fucking brutalized for it, like getting
yeah,
absolutely fucking stomped in and brutalized for every single thing he does, even though he does like things that me or Kevin or just like a normal
yeah.
person would do.
Yeah.
um
And it's very heightened, obviously, by like the fact that there's stuff occurring around him that are just not things that occur around people in their everyday lives.
but the
But it
things
does
that occur
feel like
around him,
that.
yeah, it feels like that though.
Yeah, it feels like
um
that if you're somebody who experiences anxiety to the degree that he does, which is like, yeah, I don't know. I do like that that concept alone, because I've kind of always like danced around like writing a script of like something similar to that, like talking about my anxiety in like script format and kind of making like a horror movie based on like what it just feels like to have anxiety. I don't know that it would look anything like this though, which is like a compliment, obviously. Like shocker, Ari Aster's a better writer than me, but like yeah, I do think it's like it's very extreme and in a fun way.
yeah,
um is there a section other than the opening section, or even if it is the opening section, that was like out of those sections that was your favorite, Owen? Like is there like one part of the movie where you
Yeah,
really like
my
though?
favorite part is when they're in that camp, and when
Yeah.
yeah.
they're doing
Okay.
the play, and there's like an animated section.
Hmm.
Hmm.
Um, I like immediately when the animation stuff comes on, it's like, oh, this is probably my favorite thing that he's done in his career.
That was
Yeah.
Um,
so genius, dude.
Yeah, I thought it
Uh,
was very cool.
I did like it was like oh it was like this is really cool. Like I actually really like this, and then like kind of kept going, and I was oh this is like a long part,
Yeah.
um, so yeah that's probably like my favorite part of the movie.
The
Um,
people that were like the heads of that animated section,
yeah.
um, they made an animated movie called Wolf House that Aster
Mhm. Oh, I've
produced
heard of that
that
movie.
people say is really good. Um,
Yeah. I feel like that movie's on my watch list, if I'm not mistaken. I feel like I
Wait,
remember somebody like recommending that movie to me. But I don't know. Maybe I'm thinking of a different movie, but that sounds really
like the
familiar.
Wolf House?
yeah, yeah. Hold on.
Oh yeah, I've seen this.
Yeah. Um,
Um,
yeah, they did that. The animated
cool,
stuff
cool,
in
cool, cool.
Beau's Afraid.
Yeah, no, I
Interesting.
like that. I it's like me like when I like, watched the trailers, I was like, oh, I like that already. Like that, I kind of because you have Joaquin, who I think is good in this movie. Just kind of
Yeah.
walking through on this journey, and you have these different um different looks, kind of like heightened fantasy kind of looks. They're really cool. And the story like telling aspect of that kind of scene is really cool as well with like the narration and
Yeah, it's like
stuff.
all narrated, all really
Yeah.
beautifully narrated.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
And it's
And
like
like
you said, it's a long, like it's
Yeah,
a
it was like,
long
oh, this is
narration
really
as
cool, and then I
well.
was like, oh, where this is like a long
Yeah.
bit. It goes on
No,
for like
yeah.
a
yeah, it's like a half hour. It's like
Yeah.
yeah. I was like,
No,
oh,
but
this is
that was it was
cool,
like
and then
extremely
it's like,
engaging.
oh, yeah,
yeah. Well,
um,
this movie's like yeah, it's like 3 hours
Yeah.
long.
yeah,
I mean, I know I said that to my friend after the movie ended though, because it was like obviously like one of the things that I went into the movie anticipating. I didn't know what I was going to think because of the fact that the reviews were so mixed, but I was hoping I was going to like it, and I did end up liking it. But like
Hmm.
one of the things I was nervous about was like I knew it was a 3 hour movie, and I was like, if I end up not liking this movie, it is going to feel really long. Like I don't want to fall asleep in the movie theater. Like I don't want it to be. I was like, at least if I don't like it, I need to be engaged. But I was like, I said to my friend after it ended, I was like, that didn't really feel like a 3 hour movie to me.
Falling
Like,
asleep is crazy.
yeah,
it
no, I
felt
mean, obviously,
very
I'm not
long.
gonna, I'm not gonna fall asleep during a movie, but I'm just saying, like, for me at least, there wasn't really a part of the movie that I got bored during, or like even like disengaged. Like, it still felt like a long movie, but like, I thought it was gonna keep going. Like the part that it ends at, I was like, I thought there was still more. Like, it didn't feel like a three
That's
hour movie to
interesting.
me.
So for me, I knew that how the movie was going to end, and it's not because like of a spoiler or anything, but it's because like watching the movie, I could tell the what the language of the movie was, and I was
Yeah.
like,
Well,
oh,
I
this
knew,
is
I should say I knew that there wasn't like anywhere they could go after that.
oh
I just meant more so that it felt less like a 3 hour movie to me and more like just a movie that was like a little over 2 hours. Like I didn't realize the time was passing.
well what oh yeah. What I was gonna say though was that I like there was like almost like every time something happened for the last half hour, maybe
Mhm.
even a little bit more, I was thinking like, oh, the movie's gonna end right here. The movie's gonna end right here because like I knew what was gonna happen at the very end of the movie because like it
Yeah.
just like it felt like that was the only possible way the movie could end.
Yeah.
Especially knowing how like the mixed responses going in.
Mhm.
But like it literally could have. It's one of those things where it's like when you're watching it, it's like you can like maybe get a feel for some things, but you can't like predict where the narrative is going to flow.
Yeah.
By the end of it, because it's like every time something happens, it's like why? What the fuck?
Yeah. No, there's a lot of moments like that.
But some people fucking hate this movie though.
Yeah. Some of those people are with us right now.
Some are
Yeah.
are the people in
um,
the room with us?
yeah. I don't know. Before we go on to why Owen hates the movie, is there anything non-spoiler territory that you want to say that you really like about the movie, Doug? Um,
Yeah. I mean, uh, it's the movie's very good. I
yeah, 'cause I
think
do want to talk about Joaquin Phoenix a little bit because I know Owen mentioned already that it's like,
yeah.
but it's like it's also gotten to the point where you can't really go into a Joaquin Phoenix movie and expect anything other than for him to be really good in it. Like you're just not gonna like, not really
Yeah.
gonna watch a
Well,
Joaquin Phoenix movie and be like, yeah, that guy sucked.
I think it's weird because I think that the conversation around this movie is so bizarre. I think that his performance his performance is almost underrated now. Because
Sure.
like I
Yeah.
feel like people were like bracing for people to overrate it and like go crazy, and now I feel like because I've seen so many people say like, oh, other people are saying this, you guys need to be are crazy. I'm like, no, like I think this really is like one of his better performances. I think this is probably his best performance since The Master. Um,
Interesting. I definitely don't agree with that because there's a movie that came out after The Master that I think is his best performance ever. Um, but you were
that's
never really
crazy.
here.
Oh yeah, I mean that's a good performance. I mean I don't. It's like yeah, it's a good movie. But it's like I don't. I think that like this is such a. I think this is a really challenging emotional movie, and he also
Yeah.
does a lot
Yeah.
of real. He does a lot of physical acting in this movie too, that I think is like really challenging. But
Yeah. I mean, I've seen 10 of his movies now, and I would definitely say it's in the top half. So I think like the fact that people are kind of like calling, like, why is that funny? Like he's,
top half is just crazy. He like yeah, I'm
I mean,
pretty sure it's in
it's,
the top half.
yeah, well, I mean, it's Joaquin Phoenix. Like, it's like, come on,
Yeah.
like he's good in everything. Like, saying it's in the top half is not like a diss on his
You're like
performance
it
in this
might be
movie.
above Joker, but I would need a double
I
check.
mean, no,
Yep.
Joker's low on my list. Joker's like towards the bottom of those 10 movies for me. I'm just saying, like, it's not a crazy thing to be like it's in his top 5 best performances when I like all of his performances. But I just, yeah, no, I agree with what you're saying that I think people are kind of like almost starting to overlook the performance because they were maybe expecting something different. I don't know, but I do think he's really good in this movie, and I think there's a couple performances that are really good.
Yeah, I
Um,
think Amy Ryan's really strong
Yeah.
in that
yeah,
segment. I think like because she's kind of a smaller role. I'm not actually
yeah.
I don't really like that segment, but I do like Amy Ryan.
I thought that segment was going to be significantly longer only because the way that the movie was portrayed in the trailer. I thought that was going to be like most of the movie.
Yeah, so the segment
um,
is when he is in the house
yeah, when he's yeah,
after he gets ran over.
yeah.
Yeah.
No,
But I thought that was like, I don't know, the trailer to me made it seem like that segment was just going to be like most of the movie after the beginning section, and yeah, there's a lot more that happens after that. But no, I agree. I like Amy Ryan in this.
Yeah.
And it
Uh
seems like most people are talking about what is it,
Patty
Patty?
the Pole,
Yeah.
yeah,
who also
Uh,
fucking kind of
yeah.
kills it.
Yeah, no.
She's
I
she's
mean,
like a
once when
Broadway
when
actress.
she shows up,
Um,
it like she kind of like steals the show from me.
yeah, she's not in like a lot of movies that are very good, but she's like a really successful stage actress, and that's also kind of an interesting decision to pair Joaquin Phoenix against someone like that. But yeah, 'cause she's kind of like a screen stealer for sure.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean that I would say that her when she shows up in the movie, her I guess like section of the movie, if we're still breaking it down that way, after the opening one is probably my next favorite. Because there's some stuff in there that I really liked without getting into spoiler territory. Okay, Owen, hit us with with why you think this movie sucks.
Okay. Well, like I mean, I guess a lot of it has to do with Ari Aster in general. Because I know you guys talk about like it's very funny and stuff. Like it's not really the humor doesn't really work for me.
Hmm.
And I think that's why like going to Joaquin's performance. It's like yeah, I think he's good in the movie. I struggle to call him great or really like care for the performance too much because I just don't really it doesn't really affect me. And I think a lot of it is like with the movie, like definitely tackling anxiety. I don't really feel anxiety watching this movie.
Hmm.
It's not like I don't really get much of a feeling, and I know because I kind of asked this online, and I was wondering if people felt at the time, and you said that you did not feel it, and I do feel like I definitely felt it, and it was struggling for me. Definitely with a movie that a lot of it is just like anxiety and stuff, and when I just kind of felt bored and
Yeah.
kind of disassociated, less than like anxious. And then it's just like a lot of with Ari Aster's just writing and his comedy. Um, it just kind of makes characters insufferable for me. I think like this the sequence, not sequence, but the with Nathan Lane and Amy Ryan's kind of Um, and it could be, it's definitely like a lot of it is just kind of how he's writing it. It's a lot of it's purposeful, but it is like I just
Yeah.
don't want to watch this character on the screen. I think it's definitely like you don't want to like that the daughter, but the daughter
Uh-huh.
is very like that daughter
Yeah.
is, and that's probably like the most effective moments for me in the movie are with the Nathan Lane and Amy Ryan's daughter, but it
Mhm.
was like an effective in like a negative way where I'm like I don't want to watch this right now.
Yeah.
But yeah, I do think it's like a lot of it is like I don't really connect to the characters that Ari Aster writes, and it struggles for me to have any kind of emotional connection to the film. And it
Yeah.
being really long kind of struggles with that. But I think this is kind of, I wrote in my review, I think there's like the best of Ari Aster's ideas are kind of here. But it is kind of a lot of Ari Aster. It's a little too much Ari Aster for me.
Yeah.
Um,
3 hours worth of Ari Aster.
yeah, there's ideas that I really like here. I just think the way that Ari Aster kind of writes and his kind of brain doesn't really work for me, and that's not really a negative on him. It's just kind of we don't mash that well.
Yeah. I see what you're saying. And I could also comment on, because I know like Doug said something to me when I had my 3.5 star rating, how he said I should have made it higher. And I think something that you mention is kind of where like I end up conflicted about the movie, because there's a lot of like moments that I like about the movie, and I like as they're happening, I could point at the screen and be like, "Oh, that's really interesting," or like, "Oh, I really
Yeah,
like
yeah,
that." But there's not a lot of moments that I like actually like myself connected with, and I think a lot
right.
of that is like, especially when you mention the anxiety thing. I think when we're talking about the anxiety stuff, it's like this weird balance where I'm like, there was stuff happening, like I mentioned already, there was like stuff happening where I was like, oh, like that's something
Yeah,
that I've
yeah,
experienced, but I never like felt anxious myself
yeah.
as I was watching it. So I was like, oh, that's cool because I could relate to that. But like, but it wasn't like, I don't know that the
Yeah, I
movie
don't know.
like completely
And I
got
know
the
I
feelings
don't
out
know
of
if
me
that
that
was
I
ever the
wanted it
goal
to.
of the film, but I do
Yeah.
feel like I was kind of hoping for, especially because it's there's so much of it is him being afraid, and I never felt I wanted to feel afraid with Beau, but I
Mhm.
never got that.
Yeah, I don't know if that's
Yeah,
the purpose.
that's what I'm saying.
Yeah. I don't know if that's the goal,
I'm
but
not saying it was or it should have been. I just that's kind of what I was missing some feeling. There was no
yeah.
feeling, and I kind of the feeling that I kind of was like hoping in the middle of the movie is kind of to feel some sort of
Yeah.
connection with the main character, and it kind of was lacking that.
Yeah, no, that's kind of what I'm saying. Is like I'm using the anxiety as an example, but it is almost like an overarching thing where like I just don't like, not even if that's not the goal for us to be
Yeah,
afraid or anxious. I don't know that this movie ever had me at a moment where I was like really connecting to what was happening, and I know that other people felt pretty deep connections.
yeah,
My friend who I've, not going to get into specifics, but my friend who has a personal experience that relates a lot to something that happens in this movie, like in her review talked about how she like felt this deep emotional connection because it related so much to her real life. And I just, there wasn't like a moment in this movie where I like really connected with it like emotionally that much more than it was just me being like, oh, I kind of like this because this is cool.
Yeah, I mean, like I feel a great deal of empathy for Mr. Beau is Afraid
Mhm.
in this movie.
Mhm.
this is cool, man.
Mr. Beau is
Yeah, for
afraid.
Mr. Beau is Afraid because
Do we
because
have a last name? Beau Wasserman. Beau
yeah,
Wasserman.
Yeah, yeah.
well,
There you go.
yeah, but we can
Yeah,
get
yeah,
into
yeah.
that,
Okay,
but yeah,
okay,
yeah.
okay.
Because and it's one of those things because like every single thing that happens to him and every single new piece of information that we learn about Bo throughout the movie, I'm just like, damn, bro, this is like literally me. You know, it's like where it's like every single situation he's in, it's obviously he's in
All
like,
of them?
yeah, I'm
Okay.
not joking. Like every single
Okay.
situation he's in, it's obviously like a heightened version of reality. But
Yeah,
it's
yeah, yeah.
like I have had situations that I'm like, fuck, I have been in something very similar and had like similar kind of like fucking like I don't know what the fuck I'm going on, dude. And it's like you know, like,
Yeah.
um, or it's like when or towards the end when it's like he's like speaking up and defending himself, and it's like and like rightfully so. It's like like it's like it doesn't matter, you know, it doesn't matter because
Yeah.
it's like
Yeah.
the feelings fight back, or I don't know. Well, it's even like I try to tell this to my mom well, not my mom. I tried to tell this to my sister. Sorry. After seeing it, because I was like, oh yeah, I don't think you would like it, and I was like, yeah, it's kind of weird. I was watching there, and I was like, my dad also died when I was really young, and I was like,
Yeah.
I also have like a weird like conditional relationship with my mom, and I was like, I also, and like the whole movie,
Yeah.
I'm
Yeah.
like,
Yeah.
this is fucking, I don't know. So it's like I don't
Yeah.
know, and I don't know.
I see what you're saying, and that's what I mean. Where it's like like it's not a complete negative. It's just like what holds me back from loving the movie because there's just not ever anything that I'm like, oh, I really
You
connect with
just
this,
like
and it's
lack
like,
empathy on a
okay,
fundamental
yeah,
level.
sure. No, but it's like like when you think about it, it's like there's probably experiences in this movie that are much more relatable to me than anything that happens in Midsummer. But Midsummer is one of my favorite movies ever. Because I just like, I don't know, I feel more of like Midsummer just does more for me to like actually connect with some of the stuff going on, and I just like didn't really feel that way this movie as much as I just like respected what was happening because I was like, oh, this is all really cool. Like I really liked everything that was happening, but I don't like have any deep personal ties to it. But I don't know. It's overall a positive for me because I just like Ari Aster and I like what he does. Um, I just wish I connected with it as much as you did, but that's not, not the worst thing in the world. It's definitely not the experience that Owen had. So, but yeah, anything else we want to say about Beau is Afraid before we move on to our second movie?
I mean, movie rules.
Yeah.
I wish we spent more time. I know it's like crazy to kind of say because the movie's so long, but I kind of do like the when it was like young Beau, and they were on like that cruise ship. I kind of
Yeah.
just liked like I wish
Yeah.
we got
I thought that
more
part
of.
was interesting.
I wish we kind of got more of young Beau. Um,
Yeah.
I don't know if that was. I don't know. It's just kind of I kind of like those scenes.
Yeah.
They felt kind of different in contrast from the rest of the movie. Um, but no, I don't know. It's more of just an Ari Aster thing. And this definitely is a lot of Ari Aster, and it's been interesting to kind of see different reactions from it. Because it just feels it definitely is his most split film.
Yeah.
For sure. But yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, it's one of those things where it's like we just like everybody should just go see it because it's like you either
Yeah,
you might hate it, you
it's
might
like
love it.
it's interesting to recommend it to anyone because even like if you like his other two films, you could dislike this. So
Yeah. Yeah.
it's
But yeah, people should go watch it.
It's a tough sell, but people are
Okay.
enjoying it.
Yeah, some people for sure.
Some people indeed.
Okay, let's talk about Evil Dead Rise. Once again, we won't dance around spoilers for this one, right? We'll just say what happens.
There's nothing to fucking spoil in an Evil Dead
Yeah.
movie. Like,
Okay, sure, but
Yeah,
like
so they
but
get
people,
possessed.
so
by
so guess what?
the
Somebody gets
book.
possessed, and then some people
Yeah.
die, and then one person lives at the
you
end.
know what I what I
Uh,
meant though. You know what I meant, like specific deaths and stuff. Like some
Mm.
people don't want to know about that before they.
Well, I couldn't even tell you because I don't remember anyone's fucking name in that movie.
Yeah.
Okay.
No,
Anyway.
no, you're saying that as a joke. I also don't remember any characters' names in that movie.
Yeah, no, I didn't.
Yeah, well,
I didn't
that's
know.
we'll get into that.
Yeah, we'll get into stuff, but okay. Start with our ratings. I give it a 3.5 out of 5. Same rating as Beau.
It's like a 4-star movie. I don't know. It's pretty good.
Cool.
2.5.
Nice. Okay. Where do we start? Let's start with positives. What do we like about this movie?
I like at the beginning when they're at the lake and the lady goes in to check on her friend and her friend was sick and then she's reading the book and then her friend in the possessed voice starts reading the pages of the book that she's reading. She's like, stop it, you're freaking me out. But then like she looks up and like she's like sitting up at her like face is back and it's like the demonic voice and then she falls over the bed with a big thump and then her friend goes over to check on her and then she fucking pulls her scalp off. Of her head. That's like metal.
That was a cool scene. No, I agree. That was that was
I like that scene. I like that sequence a lot. I feel like it becomes pointless, but I think it's a cool scene.
Well, when you say pointless, the point is to be metal as fuck and be really
Yeah,
cool.
I
I don't
don't
know what other
No,
other
but
point
I
you're
know
looking for.
I know where Alan's coming from.
It's like it's just
something
like
that I agree with.
it's like, oh, this is cool, and then this different movie starts.
Yeah. No,
No,
I
this is
agree
cool.
with that, but we'll start with
I
positives.
really like I think that some of the camera stuff is really cool. I think though, like all the stuff they do with the door is really fun.
Yeah.
Where you're kind of like the little peephole. I think it's really cool. There's like 70 split diopters, um, which I feel like I don't know if I'm pro or against like the amount. I think
Yeah.
it
There's a
definitely
lot,
adds
man.
to the excess of the film, but it does feel like just like it does feel a little much. It does like
Yeah, what I said in
um
my review was that the movie is has a lot of cinematography. Like the movie
Like it
was
is there.
like the movie was very shot. It like
Yeah.
yeah.
there was lots of shooting.
uh,
Like
yeah, I don't know. It definitely I just I don't know. I keep thinking back in this like it's like a Brian De Palma thing where he talks about like everything is kind of like a tool and like there's a time and a place for everything. And it does feel a little like misguided when like every other
Yeah.
shot is like a split diopter. But I do think there's some really cool ones in the movie.
Yeah.
I think a lot of times sometimes it's just like, oh, okay, that wasn't really um necessary. But yeah, I think there's a lot of cool shots. I think that's kind of my big love for stuff in the movie. I think there's some really interesting camera work. Yeah, I think some of the like kills are interesting and stuff like that, but
Yeah.
I'm not
No, I
crazy
agree.
about it.
It is kind of crazy that you like can't recall by memory what all those split diopters are just because of how many there are.
no,
Yeah,
it's
there's
Um,
like there's
there's
literally like
like there,
probably
yeah, like there's so
30.
many. Yeah, there's so many that you can't just like from like your memory be like, oh, this one, because there's just like there's
Yeah,
too
by the
many
end
to
of the
remember
movie
all
it
of them.
feels like every third shot is a split diopter.
Yeah.
It's like
yeah.
it's very
And that might not
excessive.
be far off of like what the actual
Yeah,
percentage
that's what I'm.
is.
It's like it's kind of a weird thing because it's like, oh, you love to see them. You love when there's an occasional one, or even couple. But it does get like a little okay. Wow, this is a little jarring.
Yeah.
Which is kind of goes. It's a line, and it is a line with the rest of the movie. So it's like almost like I don't really know if I like it or not entirely
Yeah.
because it's like it works in context with how crazy and just excessive this movie is, but it
Yeah.
Yeah.
also is a little like okay, this is a little too much. Um,
Yeah, I see what you're saying. On the subject of positives, I think I really, at least only comparing this to the last Evil Dead entry, because that's
2013.
like, yeah, because that's like the if we're splitting them up, I guess.
Sure.
Like I think that this one, story wise and like character wise, I definitely cared much more about the characters in this one, even if I don't remember their names.
Sure.
um,
Sure.
I still think that it's just like I think that the way that they set this up is a little bit more engaging for me in terms of like the relationships in the movie and like and all of that. I was just like I cared much more about the actual horror elements because of the characters. And I think that they like I don't know. I think there's a lot of interesting stuff in there. I love the way that it's like set in this apartment building. Like I love the way that they use the
Yeah, I think
apartment
it's
building
fun to be in a
setting.
new spot. I know Bruce Campbell kind of talked about how like, yeah, I'm open to produce like as many Evil Dead movies as they want, and we can just do Evil Dead wherever. And I think it's kind of fun to kind of be able to kind of do the Evil Dead thing with the book and the all that stuff, and just kind of be able to do it wherever because of how kind of locationlessness it can be. Because like
Yeah.
It's funny that you say that, like, oh, how Evil Dead doesn't need a location or anything. When we think about it, like, there's only
it's
five Evil Dead movies, and
and they're
three of
all in
them
like
take place in
yeah.
the exact
Well,
same location.
it's
Yeah.
interesting because that kind of was the formula for these movies. But I think this movie and kind of what Bruce Campbell was saying kind of opens a lot of possibilities where like they don't need to be in that cabin in the woods. They
Yeah.
could be wherever, and you see
They could
this in
be a
the
cabin in the lake.
yeah. Which
Yeah.
I kind of like that
Which
location
is
a lot.
technically still the woods. It's just that the
No,
lake
but
is in the middle of the
no, I
woods.
do. That's I kind of it's like annoying because I do like that location a lot with the
Yeah.
water. I think there'd be some more. Like I think the stuff they do in that opening is really cool.
Yeah.
And
Yeah, it's
I don't know.
fucking metal.
There's a lot of cool possibilities for this kind of franchise to go down the line with just being wherever. Um, and yeah, I think this movie opens a lot of
Yeah.
possibilities for that.
I think they do a good job doing it like that. Obviously, like it's not any different than than like the restrained location of a cabin, but just like doing it with the apartment and the way that they use the apartment, I think is really
Yeah,
cool.
and the
'Cause
elevator
they
stuff
like,
is sick.
yeah, because they incorporate like the elevator and the hallway and like the parking garage and stuff.
Yeah, I mean, it just
So
allows for more interesting set pieces, because you can only do that cabin so many times before it's like, oh, we've seen this before. So I think
yeah,
switching it up, new location, kind of in like the way that Scream did this year, new plays, new set pieces,
yeah,
more interesting stuff you can do horror wise.
What I think is interesting, and because Evil Dead is kind of a confusing franchise. Um, I think that it's weird that this is an Evil Dead movie because this did not have to be an Evil Dead movie.
No.
You could have this movie be the exact same thing and then just make the book look different. And it's just not an Evil Dead movie. You know,
Yeah.
like that's where I'm like that's where I don't. It's like because like and also like why an Evil Dead movie with a new filmmaker and whole new cast right now? You know, the last Evil Dead movie
Yeah,
came out 10 years ago. Like
it
yeah,
is kind of weird, and you do have Sam Raimi and Bruce Campbell producing, but it does feel it
and
does
like
feel very
they're
detached
actual
from,
producers too. They're not
yeah,
even like just executive producers. Like they actually like were like involved in
which
making
is
the
cool.
movie.
I think that's very cool, and I do think kind of again with Bruce Campbell was talking about how it very much feels like they want to expand this universe or this kind
mhm,
of franchise, and they like Bruce Campbell's like, yeah, I'd be cool with dropping an Evil Dead movie every 2 years or something. Um, and it's like I think that's cool. I think because it's like weird because you get those movies, you get the Raimi movies, and then you get this movie in 2013, and that's pretty much it. And it's like
Well,
Evil
you have
Dead.
like that. They have that TV show.
Yeah. Actually,
yeah.
Yeah,
okay, that's true.
Which
That's true.
which got canceled right after like 3
yeah.
seasons.
I don't
Yeah,
think I don't think the TV show is super successful, but that got canceled
No, but I know people
before.
really like it
but
though. Like I know the people who watch it
I
really
do
like
think
it.
Evil Dead has a big fan base, and I think it has been kind of underutilized in
Mhm.
the whole like way that Nightmare on Elm Street and Scream and all those big and Halloween. I feel like it has the opportunity to have a lot more movies, and I think that's what their kind of focus is in the future. I think we
Yeah.
will get more Evil Dead
Well, it seems
movies.
like that because of how they set
Yeah,
up another
I
movie in this
I think
one.
I exactly. I think we will get a bunch more Evil Dead movies, um, and that'd be interesting. I think that's cool.
Yeah, I agree. And it's like I said this already when we talked about it, but it's like for me when we were talking about like what I get scared by last night, I was like the reason why I like this more than anything is just because it's like fun horror, and that's the only way I could describe it.
This guy.
Like because there's like horror that's like that scares me, and I'm like I don't like that shit. Like that is not what I want to watch. And then there's
I don't
like
think this
fun
movie was
horror.
that funny. I don't think this movie was that
No,
funny.
I'm
I
not
was
saying
gonna
it's
say people are
funny.
overrating the humor in this movie a
Fun.
little bit.
No, I'm not saying it's funny.
Okay.
I'm saying it's fun.
Yeah, I don't
Like,
think it was that funny. That's actually like I don't know how much we're gonna go into dislikes, but right
yeah.
now,
Well, I don't think it's like there's not really like jokes in this movie outside of
Well,
maybe like
there
a
are,
couple. Yeah, sure.
but
But
I think because like I think that there's some people like there's some kind of like popular.
sickos out there.
Well, no. I think that there's like some popular online personalities that are my dog's fucking barking.
that's
But
okay.
they're talking about how like oh this movie like goes back to the like the
Oh,
the humor
jeez.
roots
Yeah, it
of the original
doesn't.
Evil Dead that 2013 didn't reach, and is like no it's like the same shit as 2013,
Yeah,
just like
it's
the Alyssa Sutherland character is like more makes more jokes like I'm gonna suck your dick or whatever the fuck you know
yeah.
like
Which is just like a normal like like demon
Yeah, it's not
possession
even a
stuff
joke. That's
kind
just like
of.
a
Yeah.
statement.
yeah it's like the
Yeah.
Exorcist humor like
Yeah, exactly. Like it's all. I mean, it's kind of humorous, but no,
Yeah,
I
Pope's
I
Exorcist,
definitely don't.
more funny, more funny movie.
No, I definitely don't mean that it's funny. I just mean that it's fun. Like I want horror that is like just fun for me to watch and that doesn't give me nightmares. Like that's my ideal horror movie is like
Sure.
I watch it and I'm like that's creepy, that's cool, like there's a lot of blood, that was fun, and then I could go home and not have to worry about it when I go to bed at night. And like this movie is definitely like probably captures what I think of as like a fun horror movie the most out of at least out of anything I've seen like this year, or in like a little while. So
so
that's
you're
how I
saying the Pope's Exorcist was really scary
no, no. Pub Exorcist is also fun horror. I just think like what constitutes fun horror for me, this probably sums it up the best, I would say. Because
You're
I was
such a
never.
confusing fucking man.
I
I
understand. I
swear to
understand.
God.
And yeah, I'll put it out there that not everybody will have the same interpretation of this movie. Some people might think it's like very scary or something. But for me, it's just fun. I don't know. And you also mentioned Alyssa Sutherland, which is really good performance.
Yeah,
Yeah.
an actually good horror performance.
Yeah, no, like really good.
Unlike fucking Mia Goth and Pearl. Like,
Oh wow, okay.
oh no,
Oh,
it's
geez.
like I was in the
why,
shower.
why did Mia Goth have to catch a stray?
Well,
That was
no, I was in the
unnecessary.
shower yesterday and I was thinking about Alyssa Sutherland's performance in this, and then I was thinking
Mhm.
about how Mia Goth was like, yeah, they didn't nominate me for an Oscar because the Oscars hate horror movies. And I was like, no, your performance is just fucking not good. And I was like, but no, this is like a really kind of good and like fun, like really physical, kind of like transformative performance, and it's
Yeah.
good. It's like it's really good.
Yeah, no, I agree. I definitely don't agree with the Mia Goth part. I wouldn't say it's a bad performance. I don't think it's an
Well,
Oscar-worthy
yeah, I mean, it's
performance
not
at
like a
all.
bad
But
performance. It's like it's a fine performance in a
um,
bad movie.
yeah, okay, sure. We can draw the line there. Um, anyway, any other positives we want to talk about? Because the setting was a big one for me, and just like the fun horror stuff. And the third act, I would say, like the last like 15-ish minutes of the movie, 20 minutes of the movie get pretty
Yeah,
gnarly.
it kind of does this Evil Dead 1 thing, where I don't even remember the lead kind of uh person at the
Her name is
end.
Beth in the
Beth.
movie.
So in Evil Dead 1, you kind of have Bruce Campbell kind of like, I don't want to say off the side, but they did this great thing in Evil Dead 1 where it's like you have the group and everyone kind of gets their turn, and Bruce Campbell kind of rises to the occasion to be that final girl kind of thing.
Yeah.
Like it's very much it kind of
Well, Evil Dead 2013 does the same shit.
what yeah, okay.
Yeah.
I'm just saying like this is what the Evil Dead does, and
Yeah.
that is kind of it. I think it gets better once you kind of don't do that. I think it once I think once she becomes like the main focus, I think it gets better for me. I'm
Mhm.
more attached because it's just I'm more attached to the character once they kind of like, oh, that's who I'm rocking with.
Yeah.
We're good to go.
Yeah.
Because I'm not crazy about the rest of the. I'm not really crazy about any of the characters, but I think once they tell me, okay, this is the girl,
Mhm.
then I'm cool to
The
rock.
goal.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I agree with that. And like, yeah, I don't know. I was just saying that I agree that like the focus being on her at the end is good. I just think that the whole like ending moment from, I guess, like
It would have been cool to have a kid.
the elevator
Kid though.
scene, and like and onward, like that whole section is just like definitely like the kind of
The little shining
craziness
moment.
that,
Yeah.
yeah, that was like very clearly shining moment. But obviously we have to talk a bit about the what do you want to call the the like monster
Oh, like
Yeah, yeah.
transformation
The Rat
of,
King. Yeah.
yeah, okay. We could call it the Rat
Getting
King.
rocked.
I mean, it does like
Yeah,
it's like I mean, yeah.
yeah. Like that whole area of the movie was definitely like pretty absurd in a way
Yeah,
that I
the
really
like the
liked.
what's it called? That whole area was nice.
Yeah, like that
Yeah,
whole third
that's
act,
cool.
I was like, I don't know that if we want to get into some, I guess, negatives,
Should have killed
and
that little fucking kid.
okay, what, the little girl,
Yeah, they should have killed the little girl.
and just left the
Mm-hmm.
main character by herself at the
Mm-hmm.
end.
Yeah.
Interesting. Yeah,
They
I.
should have possessed the baby in her stomach, and the baby that comes out,
Oh
and
my
like
No,
god,
no, yeah, they should have done that. That would have been
crazy.
crazy. Yeah.
That would be insane.
that would
And
have rocked.
yeah, there's just like, I don't know, there's stuff like that where it's like, I mean, I didn't even think of that idea, but I just mean in general, there's just like stuff where I wish the movie got even gnarlier. Because there's just like stuff to me that felt like missed opportunities where I was like, this would have been really cool if they did something more with this. Like obviously like the prop stuff, like the idea of like having, a tattoo gun or cheese grater or whatever could make for some like really disgusting moments. And I'm like, well, that scene wasn't really that gross at all, actually. That was like very mild. I don't know. There's just moments where I was like, I wish that this was as gnarly as the final 15 minutes were, but just for like the whole thing. Especially because it kind of takes a while to like get there for me. I feel like there's like a long area after the opening scene, of course. Like there's like a lot of setup
I think the setup's
before
good though.
stuff goes down. Yeah, I'm not saying it's bad. I'm just saying it
Uh,
definitely takes a while to get to the part where like shit's going down.
and something that not enough people are talking about is how there's there's just like a trans actor in this movie playing a trans character, or not playing a trans character. But like there's just a trans actor in this movie.
Yeah.
And that was like also just a really great performance.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
No, really good performance.
yeah.
Yeah.
It's also his fucking fault that everything happens, which is funny. But and it's funny too in the movie because the movie's like not like it's like the movie doesn't dance around the fact he's like people tell him not to do this thing, that he does it, and he's like, oh no, and then
Yeah, yeah.
like the sister character's like, this is all your fucking fault, and he's like, mm.
Yeah.
Yeah. Um, yeah, I don't know. I think all the performances are pretty good, even if the characters' names aren't that
Yeah, I
memorable or
mean they're
anything.
fine. I think.
Um, yeah, I don't know. Any negatives you guys want to talk about? Anything in general, I guess, that you guys want to talk about?
Um, well, I guess for me personally, it's just like it's not really my brand of horror. I think like it just kind of within the franchise, especially, it's like, I feel like it. Again, we talked kind of before this about the comedy. I don't think it reaches that kind of balance that Evil Dead 1, 2, and Army of Darkness kind of ever kind of touch. And it kind of was like it just is missing its own Bruce Campbell. I think Beth or whatever is fine. I think the actors in this movie are fine. I don't think any of them are really that interesting or captivating. Besides, I think at least Alyssa Sutherland is probably easily the best performance. And yeah, I mean, again, it's like interesting because where they're gonna go with it, especially if they're going to do that. Like it's kind of like the teaser at the end with the getting possessed with the stuff we started the movie with. But it's I don't know. I feel like the performances kind of let you down. I think it is fun, but I don't think it's anything overly special.
Mhm.
I haven't seen the 2013 version. I do like to go back and watch that one though.
Yeah, I'm like really on the fence about which one of those two I like more because there's like different
Oh,
things I like more about like each of them.
I think
Um,
that Evil Dead. I think I'm in the minority with this, but I think Evil Dead Rise is like head over heels better than the 2013 version for me.
I don't know if that's the minority. I think, I mean, I still right now I'm saying Evil Dead Rise is better than the 2013 one. I just think
All the
I don't think
2013
I don't
super
think it's
fans,
way better.
all the 2013 super fans I've seen seem pretty disappointed with this. Um,
Interesting. Okay.
yeah.
I mean, if we want to, before we wrap up talking about the movie, if you guys want to give your little Evil Dead rankings, we can do that. Um, don't know what Doug is doing right now.
This guy.
Yeah, I don't know. I think this one and the 2013 one are both at the bottom for me, I guess.
Yeah, I
But
mean,
like, yeah, I don't know. I feel bad putting the 2013 one like last because I still like had a lot of fun watching that movie. But yeah, I don't know. I'd probably say obviously Evil Dead 2 is my number one, and then I'd go Army of Darkness, and then Evil Dead, and then this one, and then the 2013 one, and last, I guess.
Sure.
If I had to rank them.
Sure.
Sure. Okay.
sure, sure.
You want to give your ranking, or do you want to move
No, I
on?
mean, I think you got it. And then you think you hit the nail on the head there.
Okay.
Yeah,
Cool.
I haven't seen 2013, but I'd agree. I'd agree with the ranking there.
Yeah.
Nice. Okay. I did good, I guess. Okay. We can move on from Evil Dead Rise then, talk a little bit of new stuff.
News.
And nice.
I
Okay.
mean, we'll get a theme song.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah. Well,
time to spend 3 hours talking about the news.
okay. We just need to record that now and then loop it back every. Yeah. But anyway, let's get into some news stuff. I guess the biggest thing that happened this past week is like a pretty big thing. We won't get into like huge details about it because it's just like probably a conversation that we're not, that we don't need to get into all these details about. But the members of the Writers Guild of America have authorized a strike with like a 97% yes vote. So just to kind of like explain that for people that don't completely understand it, that strike is not happening yet. It means they authorized the strike. So their contract, the writer's contract, ends on May 1st, which is really soon. And if they can't come to an agreement, then that's when the strike happens. They've just said yes to the strike so far. And yeah, pretty much what it means is that they're not getting paid very well. Streaming has played a big role in that. Streaming in general has made writers get paid a little bit less, that even regardless of experience in a writer's room. They just have to, they write for less weeks and don't get paid as much as they should be getting paid. And that's why the strike is happening. And what's going to happen as a result of it, if it does happen, is that people who enjoy watching television and movies, which are the people listening to this podcast, might suffer a little bit with stuff getting pushed back or delayed. And, like the immediate stuff, of course, is any show that gets written like by the week. So like Saturday Night Live and like late night shows are just probably not going to have writers. Like they're just going to be screwed. But then other stuff like shows that, are going to be written over this summer and have their next season coming out next year are also probably going to get pushed back or even canceled. And yeah, it just affects a lot of that stuff. So if you like watching TV,
yeah. And same thing with like movies too. Like if there's a writer strike that happens soon, it means that there's probably going to need to be different writers on like Fast 11 and like movies like that that like are on timetables.
Yeah, the thing that's least affected, which is funny because obviously, like I said, streaming services play a big role in why this is happening. But the thing that's least affected probably is streaming, because a lot of streaming shows are like pretty written ahead of time right now. So like there's going to be stuff coming out on streaming probably for at least this year, probably 2024. So that you won't have to worry about. But people who like watching like episodic stuff that's coming out on TV, like watching or really just people who like watching anything, there's gonna be some issues with this.
But this also like this is not unprecedented. Like this happens.
Yeah, this happened in 2008. I want to say was the last big writer's strike. Was 2008, 2009, or 2007, 2008, somewhere around that time.
I think there was a writer's strike that happened sooner than this. That
was the last like big one that went into place, and
I remember
stuff got delayed and pushed back and everything.
I remember what is it that
Yeah, no, it says this would be the first strike since the 2007-2008 strike.
Yeah, that makes sense. That makes sense actually. I got the time messed up in my head. Yeah,
and like of course the writers are striking for good reason. And like,
yeah, I mean this is why Hollywood has like the guild system, or like not Hollywood has, but this is why the guild like in the industry like is in place so that people can like organize and like decide and like work as one group to make change and etc. But yeah,
exactly. So we obviously, I mean, I'm a writer myself, kind of, not technically, but like obviously we support the writers and their strike, and hopefully
I'm actually anti-screenwriter though.
Yeah, okay, fair enough.
Yeah, Owen's like, let them go on strike.
Yeah, let's get our
Owen's like, I don't care about the
writing. Movies out.
Yeah, Owen's like, I don't care about the writing anyway. I don't care if the producer has to write the movie. Who cares?
No, let's get the
let's get Kevin Feige in the booth.
Yeah, because that's what happened. Because I remember, an example of a movie that was affected by the writer's strike was Quantum of Solace, the second James Bond movie in the Daniel Craig era, was because like Casino Royale came out and it was really great, and then they were like, oh, we need to like make another one, and then the writer's strike happened, and so like they were working on the script for Quantum of Solace, and the writer's strike happens, so then like midway through the script they stopped. And then like obviously like a non-guild writer had to finish it, and it was obviously the movie's not very good.
Yeah, exactly.
All my non-guild writers.
Okay.
No, don't shout them out.
No, don't shout them out. But yeah, that's just biggest piece of news in terms of how it's going to affect everybody listening to this podcast. So you could expect that, and like obviously, when that May 1st deadline for the contract comes around, we can give an update on what happened. But yeah, for now we're just waiting. Okay, next piece of news is like, it's like half news, but I wanted to mention it because I just want to you know, uh, talk about some of these movies a little bit. But there was a survey conducted of like 6,000 people, I want to say, polling them on what the top 15 most anticipated movies for this summer are. Can you guys take a guess what number one is?
Oh, I know the answer. It's the number one is Spider-Verse.
Yeah. Okay. There's some stuff on here that's like the order of these is very like different than, I mean, I guess it's because it was like a poll conducted by Fandango. Like if you look at like anticipated stuff on Letterboxd, for example, like the list is clearly very different. But Mission Impossible is number two, so
Hell yeah, brother.
that's exciting for you. Yeah. And then after that, it's like The Flash is number three.
Yeah, years.
Transformers is number four. The Little Mermaid is number five. And we don't get Barbie and Oppenheimer until 7 and 8. And it's sandwiched between Fast X and Haunted Mansion.
Oh, let's go. Haunted Mansion Hive.
Yeah.
Stand up.
Are you actually hyped for that movie?
I don't know.
Okay. Yeah, I just saw the trailer for the first time literally yesterday when
It's
I
a
was,
little,
when I
it's
was at
a little
the
bit of a
movies.
who's who.
A what?
You know, they got everybody and their mom in that movie.
Oh yeah,
Um,
yeah. I mean, it's a Disney
yeah, I
movie.
don't know. It'll be bad.
Maybe.
It'll
Probably.
be bad.
Probably. Yeah.
It's
Yeah,
gonna be
anyway,
bad.
just to
But
round
a
it
little bit
out.
of a who's who, you know.
Yeah, just to round it out. Number 10, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. Number 11, Indiana
That's coming out this
Jones.
year.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh,
Indiana
okay.
Jones being at number 11 is a little bit surprising to me. But I guess
Yeah, it should
like
be off the list.
okay, I don't know about that. I thought it would be higher. But,
No, that movie's gonna fucking own.
yeah.
That movie's gonna be so good.
Number 12, Insidious, The Red Door. Number
That should be
13,
number one,
number
actually.
13, The Meg 2.
Oh, now we're talking.
No, we're cooking.
And then after that is Asteroid City.
Are all the guys coming back for the Meg too?
I'm gonna be honest, until I saw this headline, I didn't even know the Meg 2 was happening.
You didn't know about the Meg too?
Oh, actually, maybe we did. Maybe I did get it brought up when we were talking about our
You got
most
Meg in
anticipated
and Meg
movies.
2 in the same year.
But yeah, I don't know. I
The
just
Meg
like
versus is real.
it just kind of hurt my head when I was reading through this list and I saw the Meg 2 at number 13. I was like, oh right, that's a movie. Especially because Asteroid City is right behind it.
They're hyped. No one's hyped for that mid Wes Anderson movie.
Yeah, I mean,
That's
once you see
crazy.
one Wes Anderson movie, you see them all. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Mhm.
Once you see the trailer for one movie, you've seen all of his movies.
Yeah, just watch the trailer for the Grand Budapest Hotel, and it's
Yeah.
like, oh yeah,
And
get
you
it.
get the gist.
Yeah, you get it.
Yeah.
Get it.
Anyway, just wanted to mention those anticipated movies. That's the order that it went down
Rocks.
in. But we can move on
Shout
to
out
our next
Fandango.
little piece of news, which is something I assume you guys will be more interested in talking about. The Twilight reboot is in works
Oh, that
as a
shit's
TV
baloney.
series.
Yeah, I don't know. It feels like it's
Don't care.
part 2. I think it's very like grasping at straws.
Yeah.
It's
Terrible fucking decision. Here's the thing.
Yeah.
Here's the thing. Here's the thing. It can work. Okay, here's my thinking, right? Here's the thing. Twilight, in episodic form, it could work, theoretically. I think it's not a terrible decision on paper. But the thing is, like, you can't cast anybody else as those fucking characters. Like you even like more so because like Harry Potter has iconic casting, but Twilight, the casting is kind of like what made people fucking give a shit about those movies.
Yeah,
Like,
so that's the thing is it's like we're keeping Stephanie Meyer and we're losing Catherine Hardwicke again. We're losing Robert Pattinson. We're losing everyone. It's like
Kristen Stewart,
Kristen
fucking
Stewart,
Taylor Lautner.
That's what. Yeah,
Like-
it's like we're keeping the worst part of Twilight and we're trying to make it a TV show, and we're losing everything that is good.
Like,
Um,
especially considering like the two of the three leads in the original Twilight franchise
Are, like,
went on
the
to be like some of the
biggest-
great
Yeah, yeah.
the great actors of our
Yeah.
generation. Like,
So, it's another one of those Harry Potter situations where it's just no way that this is that great. I think Twilight could be. I've always thought like a Twilight remake down the line would be interesting, especially with like. I think there's a lot you can do with it, especially with like, how like start raining. I don't know if you know that. It's like with Lord of the Rings and stuff and Harry Potter, it's like they're very like highly regarded. With Twilight, it's more of a mixed bag. So I think you could try a lot of things. You could kind of get more experimental with it. But I do think the actors are just so like recognized with those roles. That it's
in
kind
that
of possible
first
to do.
fucking movie, I hate to be that guy, but it's like it's kind of perfectly casted head to toe.
Yeah.
Like even
Oh, yeah.
all of
Yeah.
the Cullen siblings are like really
Yeah.
Yeah,
fucking
no, like
perfect.
literally
Like
everybody. Yeah.
yeah, like
Yeah, it's really good. The first one's really good. It's yeah, it's again, it's just tough to. Stephanie Meyer's writing isn't great, and then you lose Kevin Hart. You lose all these great additions that make the let's call it franchise great.
Yeah.
And yeah, it's just kind of annoying that we're doing this whole fantasy TV era. Fantasy's only on TV now. Uh, yeah.
Yeah. I don't know.
Who's making that? Peacock or something stupid?
Twilight. I actually don't know
I know
who's
it's some
making it.
dumb ass streaming service
But
that sucks.
yeah, I hope it's on I hope it's on a streaming service. I hope it's on like HBO or something. But
It's
it
definitely
won't
not on
be. Yeah, it
HBO.
won't be. But I don't know.
It might be on like
I think
Paramount
I'll
or
watch it.
something.
If anybody's gonna watch it, it's gonna be me probably. But we'll see.
We
We'll see.
will see.
So,
it's
okay,
kind of
Bring Catherine back.
real. Okay, next up, we got some news that Bill Hader says that he's working on 3 film scripts, including a horror film that he would star in. And also, less exciting for me at least, but I just thought I'd mention this since it's a similar thing. Markiplier is directing and starring in his own movie.
Similar.
Well, similar as in somebody
Well, okay.
directing and starring in
The
their like.
Markiplier thing is interesting because he's making a movie, a feature-length movie that is an adaptation of a game, right?
Mhm.
The game that he's adapting is 20 minutes long.
Yeah.
That's where I'm like, that's kind of crazy.
That's
Like,
not like it's not really like in terms of adaptation, that's not like the craziest thing in the world. Like you could adapt a short story into a feature length film. It's
Yeah.
not really like you could make more out of something small.
It's kind of like taking a short film and expanding on it, I
Yeah,
guess.
but I'm very excited for the Bill Hader stuff because I think
Yeah, that's like
people
real.
who are fans of Barry, and me being one of those people because Barry's my favorite show on TV. Like when you watch certain parts of Barry, it's very clear that like Bill Hader going into movies would be very exciting. Because there's stuff
Yeah,
in Barry that it's
I like
like
him to do that.
yeah, and he'd be starring in it. It's like I mean, he had said he's working on 3 movies, but there's like at least one detail confirmed is that one of them is going to be a horror movie that he stars in. And like, especially when you see his performance in Barry, I think it definitely makes sense that he could star in a horror movie. So
Yeah.
I'm really excited for like the potential of that. I hope it turns out being even half as good as Barry. Because yeah, I don't know. It's like it's very clear to me that Bill Hader has talent, and I'd like to see it outside of a TV space. I mean, I like seeing it in a TV space too, of course, but I don't know. I'm really excited for that, so I had to include that.
Yeah. Shout out Bill.
Yeah, and our last little piece of news here, the final runtime for Martin Scorsese's Killers of the Flower Moon is 3 hours and 26 minutes. It was like previously reported that it would be 4 hours. That source wasn't like official.
that source is a piece. I blocked those fucking guys.
Now we know that it's 3 hours and 26 minutes officially. Still a long movie, but 30 hours or 30 hours, 30 minutes shorter, 30 minutes shorter than they originally reported from their fake source.
It's 5 minutes shorter than The Irishman.
Yeah. And I
should
mean,
be longer. Should be longer.
Should be longer. Yeah, I'm cool with it. I'm cool with it being a 4 hour movie, but 3 hours, 26 minutes is like fine too. I made a video when the 4 hour thing was reported, and it seemed like most people in my comments were just like pretty much the sentiment was like, you know, I need to wait till this is like online and watch it at home. Like I can't watch a 4 hour movie in theaters. I don't think that really changes with a 3.5 hour movie. I imagine that same crowd of people probably does not want to sit for a 3.5 hour movie in theaters. But I will. So that doesn't really affect us too much, I guess.
Also, it's a streaming movie, so it's like gonna be on Apple
like you'll
TV.
See it. Yeah, like if you want to watch it at home, you could.
Yeah, you're gonna boot up Apple TV, right? And it's gonna go Ghosted, Killers of the Flower Moon, then Ted Lasso on your home screen.
Yeah. You forgot Shrinking. Shrinking's doing really good.
Oh,
Shrinking. But yeah, no, I don't know. It doesn't really affect us at all. Like I'm gonna watch it no matter what.
So I think there are some haters out there that are like, I miss when movies were 90
Yeah,
minutes
I
long.
know.
And it's like, well, okay, but this also might be Martin Scorsese's last movie.
Yeah,
And you're
that's like
like,
Isn't he
that's what
doing
my
that?
video.
Isn't he doing that Grateful Dead movie?
yeah, he is
Oh
doing that, but he's also 200 years old. So,
yeah.
I thought that was
Okay.
it was working on that though.
Yeah,
Like
I think
right now.
so. No,
I
but
haven't
that's
heard
like
news about that for a while, actually.
I don't know. What you mentioned is what I made my video about, where it was like it's so weird that people complain like bring back the 90-minute movie. It's like, bro, movies are not that long. Like I was like when I
Well,
made my video, I looked at the movies that came out this year and I was like, I've seen what at the time that I made the video at least, I'd seen 35 movies from this year and only 7 of them were over 2 hours long.
It
Like
just
that
it
is a
feels like
lot
a
of
weird
fun.
movie to ask to be
that's what I was
shorter.
getting at. It's like a weird movie to be like, oh, can we make
Yeah.
movies 90 minutes again? And it's
Yeah,
like,
Yeah,
it's
that's
it's like
like
you're
about
talking about Martin
I
Scorsese.
get
hours.
it when
Like,
you get a Marvel movie and they're like, oh, it's just 3 hours. It's like, yeah, fuck off. Make this like 90 minutes long. But I
Yeah.
think to ask Martin Scorsese to make this like shorter version is
Yeah,
weird. And
it's
I think
just
that's
and
so
he's
funny.
like adapting a novel too, and it's like,
Yeah,
I want
it
you to
just
adapt this like 500-page novel into 2
yeah.
hours.
No,
Like,
it's just it doesn't it kind of it's a dumb kind of talking point to ask for 90-minute movies. I love a good 90-minute movie. I think they work in horror and I think they work in like little action stuff and
yeah,
comedy. I
Sick
don't
is a
think
good little 80-minute movie.
yeah, I
Yeah.
don't think it would operate well in this kind of area.
Yeah, it's just weird to ask a real director to be like, "Hey, why don't you make your movies shorter?"
Yeah.
Yeah,
Like,
it's literally, it's
That's like a
it's
literally,
stupid
dumb.
studio
Yeah, it's
now,
like just
yeah.
going to one of the best directors ever and being like, "Yeah, you shouldn't make your movie that long." Like it's like let
it's
him do
like,
whatever he wants.
okay, hey, Mr. Cinema, can you make your movie shorter?
Yeah. And it's the same. No, when you say Mr. Cinema, it's funny because it's like the same people who are like, "Oh yeah, just make it a series instead." It's like you think this guy's gonna make it a series? Like you think this is the guy that's gonna turn his movie
fucking
into a TV
series.
show instead?
Yeah,
But they have that
Martin
like it's like How to Watch the Irishman as a series.
Yeah.
The split up.
And it's funny because like Martin Scorsese was connected to that. He was gonna produce that Gangs of New York TV show. It was gonna take his movie and turn it into a TV series, and that shit got canceled. And that's like the only time he's ever been connected to a TV show, I think. So like,
Yeah.
Maybe they're
I
just
don't
gonna
know.
remake
It's just
it.
yeah, they're gonna remake it as a TV show.
interesting.
Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, it's just like all the complaints about it are just weird. They're just like they're all just silly. And we don't care. So
We don't care.
that's
Irishman was
that's
good. This movie is gonna
yeah.
be better, perhaps.
Yeah.
Exciting.
We'll see. Okay. That's our last little piece of news then. We can wrap up on the episode. You can let us know what you thought about Beau is Afraid and Evil Dead Rise. Be sure once again to follow us on Twitter and join us next week for episode 18. We're going to be talking about Ghosted and how to blow up a pipeline and potentially doing a little draft. So we'll see you next week.